Okay, hopefully this will be helpful. If you want, please open up that document that I linked at the top of the chat. That is kind of an outline of what we're going to be talking about today. Just some of the things that I've noticed as I've been grading, and some things that have come up as I've been checking in with students, kind of some recurring questions that people have had, and this will help kind of answer those questions and help you get on the right track for your paper. The first thing that I've noticed is problems with dealing with the opposition side of your argument in your paper. Remember that you are making an argument in this paper. You can't just be neutral. You need to take a stance. And it's not always black and white, but you need to be trying to prove something, trying to persuade something, your audience, which is the readers, to believe some way. And the way you do that is by making an argument and backing it up with research. And we've been working on that all quarter. So then at some point you need to deal with the opposition to your argument. So, because every good argument will have good opposition, will have credible people that don't agree with it. And so that's where you need to continue to research and make sure you understand all sides and that you're able to deal with what your opponents are going to be saying. So there's different ways to do that, and it's going to depend, of course, on the topic that you choose and the way you choose to approach the paper. But the first way is to say that the opposition is actually incorrect. They have their facts wrong. They're not educated or informed or updated. So for instance, I have a student doing the topic of vaccinations and saying that, you know, all students need to be vaccinated, all children need to be vaccinated. And the opposition argument, one of the opposition's arguments is that vaccinations can lead to autism. And that's a big argument. And what they would need to do in that case is say, yes, let's deal with this argument. People are saying that it has side effects like autism. Let's look at that research, and actually what we find is that that research is incorrect. It's outdated, it's flawed, there's problems with it. In reality, it doesn't lead to autism. So that's one way of dealing with it, is saying their research is wrong. But sometimes the opposition will have very good arguments, right? Sometimes you have to say, yeah, actually, you're right. For example, one student is arguing that we should be able to use internet or devices in school as part of your education for children. And the opposition might say that, you know, when students have devices in class, in school, that could lead to more cyberbullying. Now, you're not going to look very educated if you say, no, that would never happen. Or actually, cyberbullying isn't a big deal. That makes you, as the one writing the paper, look not very intelligent. Look like you're just not able to look at the opposition, you're not able to understand it, or that you're so focused on your side that you're unable to be open-minded and to deal with the problems. That's not a good way to deal with the opposition. What you would say in that case is, yes, let's concede. That means you admit the opposition has really good arguments about cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is terrible. And yet there are things we can do, education, different programs that you could put in place to prevent cyberbullying, educate about cyberbullying. So you would say, first of all, how are you going to deal with this problem? And secondly, you need to say how even, yes, there are problems, the advantages will outweigh those problems. So if you put it on a scale, yes, cyberbullying is a problem, but all the advantages that you would get from more access to the internet in schools would outweigh that. And so that's not a reason to dump the whole internet, right? So concede. And that will actually make you look intelligent, and it will make your side of the argument stronger. Another example, this is a student, I just pasted it in here, and this is kind of a way to help you word your thesis statement. Here's an example. It says, cosplay, I hope I'm saying that right. It's where you dressed up in costumes. Cosplay is a huge culture, but it has some darker sides, such as racism or similar problems. So in this thesis statement here, this student is dealing with the opposition. It has darker sides like racism and other problems. I would suggest that you reorganize that thesis statement though, because if you say it this way, when you put the negative last in the thesis statement, that's what's more memorable. So this person wants to say that cosplay is good, and the thesis statement kind of is backfiring, and it makes it sound like the focus is on the negative. So flip it around and say something like, despite the darker side or despite the problems that have arisen with cosplay, it's actually a beneficial, fun, enlightening, whatever, activity. So switch it around so that your main point is at the end. And then what you would do in this case is start out with the opposition and say, yeah, this is a problem. This is, some of the issues that have arisen. However, and then switch your paper to talking about all the benefits. So sometimes if the negative is something that most people are focusing right now on, deal with that right away. It's like if you were talking to a friend who disagreed with you strongly on something, you would deal with those problems first. You wouldn't ignore them. Get it out in the open right away. Talk about prejudice and racism, and then end with your point, which is the benefits. And then another thing is sometimes people are like, when students think, I don't know what my opposition is. This is a great idea. For instance, one student is doing their research paper on music and how learning an instrument can really be beneficial to you intellectually. It can help you with other subjects. And sometimes, that seems obvious. Like, yeah, that would be, yeah, we need more music. The opposition often is, if you're having a hard time finding what your opposition is, a lot of times it's basically laziness. People don't want to change. It can be, that's the status quo. It's just like, we've never done anything new like this. We've never, used, what's another one that's kind of out there? Like, we've never used art for therapy. We've always just used counseling or medication. We've never done it that way. That can be your opposition. People are just resistant to change. And most of the time, a number one opposition is money. People don't want to pay for it. They don't want to pay for something new. So that can be a big opposition. For instance, with the music and music and education, often music and art classes are the first thing to go in a school because of money issues, and people don't believe that music is that important. So that's your opposition, is they're using their money, they're using their resources for something else, and it needs to be used for this program or whatever it is. So those are some ways you can deal with the opposition. Are there any questions that you have about that, or anything specific to your topics that you want to talk about for those of you that are here? And if so, chat in whenever you want to, and if not, we'll just move on to the next point, which is writing stage. That's what I have written. Okay, so starting this week, in week 6, we have moved from the researching stage, which we focused on for the first 5 weeks of the course. Now we're into the writing stage. This is where you've read your research, you've figured out what side you want to be on. If you may have gone in thinking one way and switched your ideas, switched your stance, and now you believe something completely different than you thought because you've researched it, and that's great. So at this point, we're moving on. We're focusing on writing. We've written our thesis statements this week, and a brief outline. Now what we need to do is, the question was, do I keep researching? And the answer is yes. Someone's at my door. Oh, they're gone. Okay, so yes, you keep researching if you need. If you need to find something else, if you come up, you're in your outline and you find that you need some more evidence on one point, keep researching. That's a process that's going to continue to the end. What if you found something for one of those research worksheets that you find now is not useful to you? It's okay to get rid of a source, add another source. That's totally fine. You don't need to update the annotated bibliography, but you do need to make sure the list, the works cited list at the end that will come at the end of your research paper is updated. So once you sit down to write your paper, you need to list all the sources that are used in the paper. And if it's on the works cited list at the end, I hope this is making sense to you. If it's at the end of the paper, there'll be a works cited list. If it's on there, if you have a source that's listed on there, that means that the source is something that you actually used in the paper. So don't list sources at the bottom that aren't actually used in the paper. Works cited means that work is actually cited. Does that make sense? So you need to have at least 5 sources, but it doesn't have to be the original 5 that you found. I hope that makes sense. Okay, the next thing is the portfolio. We started that this week, and I'm just going to open that up on the screen here. This is the template of the portfolio, and just notice that it's really ugly. I did that on purpose. It's just this ugly green, well, some people might like it, with just plain text. That's because I want you to make this your own. I want you to make a copy of this portfolio and then change the layout and make it look the way you want it to look. The one thing that I've seen a couple times that looks really bad, because in portfolios you want them to look nice, is people just pasting in the URL, like the whole web address here. You don't want to do that. You just want to highlight this here, go up here to this link icon, open that up, and then paste the link to your assignment in here. So don't just paste the whole URL right on this page. And this is what I'm mostly going to be looking at, is this reflection section. So make it look nice and link out to your sources using this highlight and link feature. Any questions on that? Okay. Okay, what else do we have here? Oh, okay. We did the thesis assignment this week where you wrote 4 different thesis statements and you chose one that you want to use. I don't know why, but a lot of people, a lot of students I've seen will totally forget about that thesis statement. The thesis statement you write on that worksheet and the one that you choose is your actual thesis statement for the whole paper later. So if you chose it there, you put it on your outline, you put it on your detailed outline, and then it's included in your final paper. It should be there in your first paragraph. You can revise it, of course, make it sound better, but the intention of that assignment was to actually have you come up with a thesis statement that you will use. Every assignment that we're doing this quarter is something that you will use later. You don't throw it away. It's something that you need for the research paper. So for instance, next week, you're going to be writing an introduction and a conclusion to your research paper. Then you will just revise that after I grade it and use that actual introduction in your final paper. So really, next week you're getting started on the writing of the actual paper. So just remember, it's all continuous. Don't start over again every time you start a new assignment. View and use feedback. So I'm noticing that students are sometimes not looking at my feedback on your thesis statement and your outline. I'm going to put some comments on there, and I expect you to read my comments and use those comments to revise what you've written so that your paper continually is getting revised, updated, and improving. I remember from one assignment to the next what I've told you, and if it looks like you're not listening or not taking the feedback that I've given you, it's really kind of frustrating for me because I try to spend a lot of time making sure that you're on the right track and you're moving forward. So just read the feedback and use it, and just know that I keep track of those things. The other thing just to keep in mind for the future is actually not till week 8, you'll be writing a first draft of your research paper. You need for your portfolio, and I'll just open that up. Notice there is a place for the first draft and the final draft. So there's 2 different links there. So once you're done with the first draft, make a copy of it and then revise it and use that one for the final draft. It should be 2 completely different assignments, and I should be able to see how you've improved your work in between the first draft and the final draft stage. Okay, let's see. I'm just about done. Okay, just a reminder that in week 8, I'm going to be gone that whole weekend. I won't have any internet access. Poor me. I'm going on a vacation, so it's been planned for a while, but I just want to make sure you know that I won't be there, and try to get the help you need before that week. And if not, I will have a substitute teacher, but another good resource is the writing tutor. And this will be in your left-hand side of Moodle. I just noticed that it's not there. So I will go add that in, but when you open up your English course, this will be on the left side, and this button you can click and you can talk to a tutor from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. 7 days a week. So that's Friday, Saturday, every day. You can use that anytime, but especially when I'm not here, please use that tutor for your writing, and they'll be really helpful for you in working through the writing process. Okay, those are just the tips I've come up with this week. I hope that was helpful. And now I'm going to open up to you and to see if you have any questions for me. Okay, so this is a great question. She says, after doing all the research assignments, I found there isn't much research about one issue, but when I broaden my topic, there's too much research. Is it possible to change my subject so late in the game, or can you help me find a happy medium? Okay, I would think, okay, this is only a 6-page paper. So a lot of times what you think isn't enough research actually turns out to be plenty of research. And yes, sometimes if you broaden your search out, there's so much that you get bogged down. I would suggest that at this point, you don't completely change your topic, because that's going to be very overwhelming and you're going to have to start over with a research process. But I would be happy to work with you in, finding that happy medium, something, or even looking for more research on your original topic. I'd be happy to help you with that. Yeah, I would never suggest dumping a whole topic right now and starting over, especially since in the past, that's where, and I'm not even saying anything to you specifically, but other students I've seen that come up with a brand new topic at the very end, that's a red flag that they might just be copying something, because we need to see that whole process from the beginning to the end. So yeah, we can work on this individually, and I'd be happy to help you tweak your topic so that it's still in the general area of research, but it's something that works better for you. Great question. Yeah, any other questions or comments? And if you don't have any questions, you can just say, nope, no questions, you answered everything. Okay, no ma'am. All right. Well, okay, great. Well, if there are no other questions, I hope that was helpful. I have recorded this, so you can come back and look at it again if you have any questions, and I will share this with the rest of the class. But thanks so much for coming. It was great. It was great having you here.